Imagine a visitor from another star system, silently slipping through the vast emptiness of space, carrying secrets that could challenge everything we know. Astronomers have recently turned their telescopes toward such a visitor, an object known as 3E Atlas, only the third interstellar object ever observed entering our solar system. Unlike typical comets or asteroids, this one quickly began defying expectations. Its path, its composition, even its behavior suggested that something extraordinary was unfolding. At first, 3E Atlas appeared like any other distant object, a faint glimmer on the outer edge of the solar system. Scientists assumed it was a regular icy body, shedding dust and gas as it drew closer to the Sun. But as observations intensified, subtle anomalies began to emerge. The brightness of the object fluctuated with a regularity that was almost unnatural, pulsing in ways that seemed deliberate. Radio telescopes picked up signals that coincided precisely with those changes in light, forming patterns too consistent to be random. Across multiple observatories, the same strange, repeating sequences appeared, echoing mathematical structures that hinted at design, prime numbers, ratios reflecting geometric harmony, and signals that suggested intentional communication. The realization sent ripples through the scientific community. These emissions were repeatable, verifiable, and independent of terrestrial interference. Even more unnerving, the signals seemed to respond to observation. When radar pings were directed at the object, the intensity of its emissions shifted. For the first time, astronomers were confronted with the possibility that this interstellar visitor was not merely an inert rock, but something capable of interaction, perhaps even awareness. 3E Atlas's behavior was unlike anything humans had seen. Its acceleration subtly deviated from predictions based on gravity and natural outgassing, hinting at some unknown propulsion mechanism or guidance system. It was as though the object itself had a purpose, moving with intention through the void. The combination of these physical anomalies and the structured emissions painted a portrait of something entirely alien. Humanity was no longer simply observing, we were being observed. Efforts to decode the signals revealed even more complexity. Embedded within the bursts were recurring motifs that mirrored fundamental constants and universal patterns, hydrogen emission lines, Fibonacci sequences, and orbital harmonics. It was as if someone, or something, was speaking in a language designed to transcend biology, a code intelligible to any advanced intelligence capable of interpreting mathematics. Yet no one could fully understand the message. Every new analysis uncovered layers of information, each more intricate than the last, suggesting that the object's transmissions were multidimensional, almost fractal in nature, with hidden structures that challenged human comprehension. The implications were staggering. If 3E Atlas was indeed a constructed device, its creators were unimaginably advanced. To sustain such precise emissions over interstellar distances would require energy sources beyond anything humanity currently possesses, a nuclear or fusion-based power system, perhaps capable of operating for millennia. The object was moving through our solar system with a quiet determination, indifferent to our panic, our fascination, or our attempts at comprehension. Even more unsettling was the possibility that the signals were not directed at humans at all. Perhaps Earth was merely intercepting a transmission intended for some other recipient, or perhaps the object's presence was itself a test, a probe sent to measure the reactions of developing civilizations. Every radar ping, every observation might have already revealed humanity's existence, our technology, and even our curiosity to unknown forces across the galaxy. The thought that we might have inadvertently announced ourselves to beings far beyond our comprehension was enough to unsettle the most rational minds. Supercomputers tirelessly analyzed terabytes of data, uncovering layers of modulation that hinted at vast stores of encoded information. Some researchers speculated that the transmissions could contain instructions, maps, or blueprints, perhaps remnants of a civilization long extinct, or even guidance for technology far beyond human capability. The broader implications weighed heavily. Could this be a seed probe, carrying dormant organisms or nanotechnology across the galaxy? A silent experiment observing how life on Earth would react? Was it a message, a warning, or simply a record of our existence? Scientists, philosophers, and even religious thinkers were forced to confront the possibility that humanity was no longer alone in the cosmic dark. The object's presence sparked both awe and fear. Every pulse from 3E Atlas reminded us of the fragility of our understanding, of the vast unknowns that stretch between stars. It was a confrontation with the unknown, a challenge to humanity's perception of its place in the universe. For now, all that could be done was to listen, observe, and try to unravel the layered signals, aware that each moment brought new revelations, and with them, new uncertainties. 3E Atlas was no ordinary celestial visitor. It was a whisper from the unknown, a presence that hinted at intelligence, purpose, and power far beyond our reach. Whether it carried knowledge, danger, or simply the proof that we are not alone, it had arrived unannounced, leaving humanity to grapple with questions that may never be fully answered. The universe had sent its envoy, and all we could do was watch, listen, and hope that in the quiet pulses of this interstellar wanderer lay the key to understanding our cosmic neighbors, or at least, the first glimpse of their existence. Through it all, the most unsettling aspect was the silence behind the signals. 3E Atlas did not explain itself. It offered no greetings, no translations, no form of communication designed for human understanding. The pulses came as they were, ordered, deliberate, and indifferent. Humanity could do nothing but listen, analyze, and imagine. Ignoring them was impossible. The object had arrived as a test, a challenge stretching across light years, throwing humanity's assumptions into stark relief. Every attempt to decipher it only revealed more complexity, more layers of enigma. Scientists found themselves confronting limits they had never imagined. For every hypothesis about the signals or the object's behavior, 3E Atlas seemed to respond with patterns beyond expectation. The signals were structured to resist closure, to stretch understanding to its breaking point, and in that break lay both wonder and fear. Was this an invitation, a test to see which civilizations could recognize and interpret it? And if so, what awaited those who succeeded: contact, knowledge, or something far darker? As 3E Atlas glided silently through the solar system, humanity could only observe, measure, and speculate. Every beat of its pulse was a reminder that space was far from empty, that the darkness between stars might hold intention, presence, and awareness. The world's scientific community shifted from simply confirming its existence to attempting the impossible: interpretation. The challenge was no longer just to detect or verify, it was to peer into the mind, if mind there was, behind these signals. Humanity had stumbled into a dialogue that might never have been meant for it. Deep space listening arrays were reconfigured, forming a global network tuned entirely to the object. These instruments revealed more than the first pulses had suggested. Signals carried modulations far beyond conventional detection, pushing the limits of technology. Some speculated the transmissions might operate through unknown physical channels, perhaps quantum or gravitational. Humanity might have been perceiving only a fraction of a far greater communication, a message partially hidden by its medium. Physical observations deepened the mystery. High-resolution imaging hinted at features inconsistent with natural formation. Sharp edges, geometric ridges, and angles that defied erosion or impact patterns suggested design. The possibility that 3E Atlas was constructed, even partly, raised urgent questions. Was it a derelict drifting from some distant civilization, or an active machine pursuing a purpose that had persisted for millions of years? Its signals implied intention, endurance, and precision beyond human capability. Linguists and mathematicians attempted to interpret the pulses as language. What emerged was not human speech but abstract patterns, layered logic, and interwoven harmonics. Some describe the sequences as musical, cathedral-like in their complexity, yet impossible to fully grasp. Each revelation uncovered another hidden layer, giving the sense of decoding something alive, something aware. Many scientists reported psychological effects. Dreams filled with symbols, a persistent feeling of being observed, even subtle auditory illusions. The line between objective science and subjective experience began to blur. The cultural impact was immediate. Speculation spilled into the public sphere, and governments issued carefully worded statements while keeping much secret. Conspiracy theories and philosophical debates flourished. Some suggested 3E Atlas was a weapon, others a messenger, and still others a test of humanity itself. For the first time in generations, humanity faced a fear and a fascination that transcended borders, religions, and politics. Further analysis revealed correspondences between the signal's timing and planetary orbits. Earth, Jupiter, Neptune, and even Pluto seemed referenced in the modulation intervals. This suggested either prior knowledge of the solar system or active observation. The implications were chilling. The object could be cataloging humanity's world, perceiving our system in ways beyond human capability, indifferent to our presence yet aware of it. Its rotation, unnervingly stable and occasionally adjusted in subtle ways, hinted at intentional orientation, as though it were observing planets, the Sun, and perhaps Earth itself. Some speculated that 3E Atlas was part of a vast interstellar network, each probe communicating with a central intelligence. In that case, humanity could be witnessing a fragment of an operation spanning light years, far beyond comprehension. Meanwhile, as 3E Atlas passed through the solar system, it became a symbol, a muse, and a mirror. Artists depicted it as a harbinger, philosophers wrote of cosmic humility, and theologians debated its implications. Some viewed it as revelation, others as omen. No interpretation could change one fact: the object was there, signaling, and indifferent to human attempts to control or understand it. Its presence was a constant reminder of our fragility and our small place in the vastness of space. And yet, despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, humanity could do nothing but listen. Each pulse was a whisper from the unknown, a reminder that the universe is not silent, that consciousness, intention, and mystery are scattered across the stars. The signals persisted, ordered, deliberate, and challenging every assumption. They were a reminder that something had noticed us, that the cosmos held secrets older and stranger than we could imagine, and that for all our curiosity, we might be ill-prepared for the answers awaiting us.